Hello and welcome to the next part of my tutorial. We're going to be adding some functionality to our 2D platformer. I have here a checklist of all the various different elements that are required for our level, and as we continue to progress through this tutorial series, I'll be adding, checking off where we have successfully implemented some of this stuff. The first thing we're going to do is implement a trigger box, which is the kind of functionality we're going to be using quite often for various different elements. The first thing we're going to want to implement is some sort of death box for our character to die. But as the moment, whenever we play the game, if we fall below a certain point, a certain height, we just die anyway. So we're going to have to make sure that that point in space, that on the I think it's the Z axis, is not something that's part of our level. So I'm just going to very quickly move all of this stuff up a bit, including our character and our level, and that way whenever we fall off the screen we don't die until we get to some significant position lower than our entire level, right? So now let's go ahead and add a death box. Let's say, for example, that we have some element of the scene which is deadly. I don't actually have a tile set for this, which is probably a bad idea. We should probably have created a tile for a spike pit, but for now I'm just going to say that this particular element here can represent death. So I'm going to go to my tile map. We're going to paint this in somewhere and say that, going into this brown spike here is a bad idea. So if I go ahead and minimize this, we're going to go ahead and add a collider on top of this tile set to create the collision. In fact, we should probably get rid of the collider on this element here. So I'm going to go ahead and select this and delete it, because the collision for dying is going to come from our new blueprint that we're going to make. This would make a lot more sense if these images were spike traps, so you should do something like that for your level. I'm going to go ahead and create a new blueprint class of the base actor type, and we'll call this Deathbox. For our Deathbox to collide with anything, we're going to have to add a component of a box collider to it. Box collision, and now we've got this box collider. We can go to our event graph, and our event actor begin overlap is going to occur every time something overlaps with this. We want to make sure that it's only going to trigger whenever it's the character. So we're going to cast to a paper character. That is the type of character that our player is, so paper character here. And what are we going to cast? We're going to cast the actor that we overlapped with. So if this fails, that means that we're not colliding with the player, in which case we shouldn't do anything, so we'll leave this one unconnected. But if it succeeds, that means that it is the player, in which case we're going to go ahead and destroy actor for now. And this actor we destroy will be the player, so we're going to drag this out here. Let's go ahead and compile that and test it by adding the blueprint to our scene. Whenever we add blueprints to the scene, quite often the y-axis values are very strange. So I'm going to go ahead and set this y-axis value from whatever that was to 0. And now it should intersect with the player. And I'm also going to scale up the collider so that it fits the shape roughly of where we should be dying, which is whenever we collide with this box here. So if I play the game and I go ahead and walk into this, nothing happens. Then we die. I think that's because, let's try that again. Is it because this background still has collision? Yes, I think so. Let's go back to my tile set and make sure that this has no collider. And let's also make sure that we're using this particular box. So you got to make sure that basically you don't collide with the tile set element before you have the chance to collide with the box collider that kills you. Okay, so that's very simple, and we've got our box collider to do some death stuff. We're going to create a death screen instead in the future, but for now that will do. We're now going to create a door system, so let me go ahead and move this death box somewhere else for now. We're going to move this down here into between these two platforms. And I'll go back to my tile map and get rid of this as well. And we're now going to introduce having a door and a key. So I'm going to go quickly make a door here in Piskel. Let's just create something very quickly. While we're here, we could also have created this trap, but whatever. Let's go ahead and make this a red door. We're just going to color this in. Maybe our canvas size is massive. No, it's fine. We'll make this a bigger height though. Whenever you're resizing, if you want to just have something that's taller than it's wider, for example, we can go ahead and turn off maintain aspect ratio so that we can have something that's 64 height, for example, but only 32 width. So here's our door. I'm going to color in red, and sure, we'll give it a big old door handle knob. There we go. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and export this as a sprite sheet, as always. I'm going to drag this sprite sheet into our base content folder, and we'll call it door asset. Right click on it, sprite actions, apply paper 2D settings, right click on it, sprite actions, create sprite. So here's our door asset. And now that we've created a sprite, we could make an entire blueprint for it. We can also just drag it out into the scene, and you can see that it's created a paper sprite actor type of object here. Again, we'll change this value to 7.5. We could, we don't have to set it to exactly this scale, but this is just creating a consistent pixel scale for our game. So here's our door. In fact, we'll probably be able to jump over this door. So to prevent us from doing so, I'm going to make this a lot taller. And now if I go ahead and run the game, I should be able to see this door. Though something very funky is happening. Again, I forgot to make sure to reset my Y value here. So you can see actually where it is on the Y axis obfuscates where it really is on the Z and the X. So here we've got our door, and we're getting stuck on the door, so we can't get through. So we're now going to create a trigger box to open this door. Just like we did with our deck box, I'm going to go ahead and create a blueprint class and actor, and this will be called door trigger. And we're going to go ahead and double click on our door trigger. We're going to add our box collider. We're going to add in our event graph on the overlap the cast. So we're going to cast to paper character again to check that it's the player. Make sure to connect our other actor here. And this time we're going to have to get a reference to the door that we're going to turn on and off. And we're going to use this as an opportunity to implement our loops and implement our arrays. So we're going to create a new variable, which will be a reference to all of the elements of doors that we're going to turn off. So I'm going to go ahead and select this as a paper actor, paper sprite actor, I should say, and as an object reference as well. And we're going to select next to this as a variable type to turn it into an array of those variables, which will be a number of different ones, and we'll call this door elements. So now we've got this variable door elements. Once we've cast to a paper character, we're going to drag this out and create a for each loop. And the array that it's looking for, we're going to supply it by dragging in our door elements and using the get function, and then we can connect these up. So this is basically going to, for each of the elements in our door, do something. What we're going to do is simply destroy the door for now. So I'm going to go ahead and destroy actor. And the actor we're going to destroy is the element that we have provided, which is the element in this array. And finally, we're going to make this a visible variable so that we can assign values to it in our details window in Unreal. So we're going to go ahead and compile this, minimize it out. We're going to select this door and duplicate it. So I'm going to do Control-C, Control-V, and make another door element just to demonstrate how we can have multiple elements be deleted at the same time. So perhaps I'm going to rotate this and turn this into the top of the door just to kind of show you guys the functionality that we're making here. So now that we've got our door trigger, I'm going to drag this in here. I'm going to scale it up. I'm going to make sure I set my Y position to 0. Oh, that's where it really is. Okay. I still don't really know why Unreal keeps on bringing it in at a very strange Y position. It might be because it's like detecting where the background is and matching that Y position. I think that's what's happening. But oh well. Now with our trigger box door selected, we're going to go ahead and find where we have our default, which is going to show that element that we exposed before. Here it is, door elements. And we're going to add 2 elements to it and select these doors, which is door asset sprite and door asset sprite 2. So we're going to select that one, and we're going to select this one. And now whenever we play the game, hopefully whenever we enter this trigger box, it's going to loop over and delete both of those doors. So there we go. We maybe overestimated how far we can jump, so we'll maybe scale this down and also bring this down as well, so that we can see them both get deleted at the same time. Boop. So we're going to go ahead and take off these elements that we've done. We've made an array of objects that we're going to iterate over with our for loop and turn off. And we've also used a loop to do so.